Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday to you. Happy Thursday, sensitive Thursday, compassionate Thursday. I have a I'm going to do makeup filters today because I'm feeling fancy. I have got a very special rendition of we need a name for this series. I didn't plan on it being a series at the beginning, but we definitely need a name for this series. And I have a very special guest. I want to give you all a moment to come on in, say where you are Instagramming in from. We've got Facebook people over here. Facebook, if you want to join us on Instagram, you're going to be able to see my very special guest today. And we are just going to have an amazing time of girlfriend, queen community, chit chat. I've got some content. Well, my friend has some content for you as well. All right, so let me see what's going on here. We are going to bring on, while you all are getting ready and kind of coming on, I am going to bring on my dear friend, Yara Golden. I think I just accepted her request, so we're going to wait for Yara to come join us, and you're going to get to meet her yourself. There she is! Yay! Hey, beautiful. How are you today?
I'm good. I love this. I've never done a live on Instagram like this.
Oh, well, we're super high tech over here at Divine Living. Kidding.
I see that. You guys are like bringing me into like the 21st century.
Oh, well, okay, so welcome to Divine Living. So first of all, so Glenn never pays attention to my calendar, just barges in, and he's like knocking on the window right now, so he's going to be surprised to see you. Like, hey, babe, I got nothing going on. I'm not doing a Facebook or Instagram live, and I don't have Yada here, too, as our guest expert. Did you want to come say hi to everyone?
Yada.
Yada. Hi. As he runs off. Oh, Lord, it's not like the entire team doesn't have my calendar or that I'm not doing something on Zoom every hour of the day right now, Glenn, but then there's that. So, my lovelies, I just want to give you a moment to come on and say hello and presence yourself. You are in for a real treat today. Yada is one of my most favorite human beings. We have such a sisterhood and girlfriend connection. She's also a very talented copywriter, which I know is a skill set that you all must have to be successful in business and what you're doing. And, I just think that in this time, what I wanted to start doing, and Yada, you're our first guest, actually. You are the kickoff queen in terms of just really bringing community together and women supporting women. And you have just been such a light and such a support in my life. And I just want to share with the world what I'm doing and who I'm surrounding myself with to be in high vibe and keep going and keep learning and keep staying safe and keep staying at home. So while we're at home, then here we are. All right. So I see we've got, relatively speaking, are people joining us? I know they'll keep coming in. But why don't we just, what do I want to start with here? Why don't we let's just start with a state of affairs and a bit of a prayer, and then we're going to jump in.
Yes.
So we just acknowledge here at Divine Living that we are all feeling it. We are all, those of us that are safe and healthy, we're certainly feeling the heaviness. We are presented with the temptation to choose fear or the choice to choose love in every given moment of the day. We have our hearts breaking for those who have been directly impacted, losing family members. We have seen who or always have been, but who the heroes are, the doctors and nurses that are literally in a war zone. And it can really be very confronting about how do we even show up or act, or do we just drown ourselves in ice cream and Chardonnay? Is it okay to keep going in business? Is it okay to feel happy when so much of the world is suffering? And so, I think that as queens that we hold a space for all of it. And that's kind of part of what I wanted to talk to you about today, and open up the conversation. We can take questions as well, but just really wanted to acknowledge that part of queenhood is not about being a princess. You know, the princess thinks that things have to be perfect, or things have to be one way, or if there's more for me, that there's less for someone else. Mm-hmm. And that's just not true. That as queens, we get that there's devastation going on in the world. We are going to say a prayer and do our part. We're also doing our part by staying home. And for those of us that have online businesses or are needing to pivot in our own careers, we don't have to stop ourselves from feeling happiness, joy, pleasure, and moving our lives forward as well. So that's my download for this morning. So let's just start with a prayer, and then I'm going to start interviewing Yara and let you all get to know this amazing woman yourself. Dear God, we open ourselves up to your healing, our healing individually, our healing collectively, and our healing globally. We ask that you would open our eyes to how we can use this experience to make us more unified in humanity, to make us more conscious as humans, to create deeper love between us. More than ever, we really get that we are all in this together, that we truly are one. We pray over everybody who is infected and affected, the doctors, the nurses, the patients, all the people that are literally risking their lives. We pray a special prayer of protection around them. And we pray over all of our lives, that those of us that are healthy, that we would remain healthy, that we would remain vigilant, and that we would be healthy in every area of our lives, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and otherwise. And we pray all of this believing. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So one of the opportunities of the self-quarantine is, so like Jana and I, we tend to like see each other in person. Yeah. And like, we wouldn't be doing this otherwise. So Jana, tell everyone, let's start with introduce yourself, tell them who you are and what you do.
Okay, so hi, so nice to meet you. So amazing to be here, especially in this time, because I do think that it is so important for us to have this community vibe, right? And the sisterhood and the queenhood and all of the things. Like, we need to connect with people who are like-minded and who keep us focused on the things that we want rather than the things that we don't want, right? Because we have the mainstream media and news and headlines and all of those things to do that for us. So my intention is always to refocus people towards what it is that they can do, what it is that they do have, what it is that they can be grateful and thankful for and appreciative of, right, in their lives. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here and to meet your community and to have them meet me. Who am I? I am Yara Golden, and I am a copywriter. I run a copywriting agency called Story Selling, and the approach that I take to copywriting is very different than most traditional copywriters in that I don't like to sell. I like to be bought. I like for people to buy from me, right? And so the way that I really present stories and sales emails and sales invitations is really through the use of stories. I like to tell stories that help people identify with a part of the journey that creates the space for them to actually step into and say, hey, I really resonated with that. Can I hear more about it? Or how can you help me through that? And the way that I got to where I am today is through a business that I started years and years ago for relationship coaching. I was going through a divorce at the time, and I had learned so much about myself, about my husband, about people, about relationships in general. And I realized that people have a really hard time showing up and allowing themselves to be seen for everything they are and everything that they're not, right? Our two biggest fears as human beings is that we're not good enough and that we won't be loved. And showing up and allowing yourself to be seen triggers both of those things, right? Because we so badly want to be loved. We so badly want to be enough. We want to be accepted. And And so the way that that kind of translated into what I do now is that I saw that the same problem people were having in one-on-one or in intimate relationships was actually the exact same problem they were having in entrepreneurial relationships and one-to-many, right? And so when you talk about an entrepreneur and their email list and how they communicate with their audience, they still have those same fears. They still have those same insecurities. They still have those same hesitations to put themselves out there and actually share their message, because sharing your message with the world can be a very vulnerable place, right? Because you're like, this is the thing that I believe in with my whole entire heart and everyone should be doing this. And you're like, but what if I'm wrong? What if they don't agree with me? What if they don't like it? What if a troll shows up, right? Those horrible internet trolls.
What if they don't buy from me?
What if they don't buy from me? Exactly. And it's like, and it's that process of opening yourself up and saying, you know, I have put a lot of offers out there that people haven't taken me up on. And that's okay, because each and every one of those has helped me learn and helped me pivot and massage my message so that I could find the exact right person that I could serve. And showing up as my real authentic self has allowed that person to see me for who I truly am and say, wow, I really resonate with her. Like her dorkiness, her geekiness, like her quirks, like those are all of the things that really allow people to come closer and be like, hey, that's my person.
Yeah. It's so interesting to me, the stuff that we want to hide is because we're afraid that then people won't like us or buy from us or subscribe or follow us, is actually the thing that becomes the most attractive.
Yes.
For the right people, and it does actually become the most triggering or repelling for who it's not right for. So there is, I think, a bit of a controversy and a bit of a polarity with it. But if you, I know that one of the stories that I write about in my book, spoiler alert if you haven't already read this particular story, but I talk about going on this $20,000 shopping spree. And I remember after I wrote it, I was like, Gina, you can't, like the mommy bloggers are just gonna annihilate you. You know, you're gonna sound like this rich bitch or this like irresponsible financially. And I saw in one
they're
of my
gonna throw homemade arrows at you.
Right. I'm over here sewing my tampons and all the hippies are like, anyways. And then I saw in one of the Facebook groups, like that was the story that like someone was like, you know, hashtag goals. Like that was like what actually inspired. So yeah, I love what you talk about, this vulnerable piece. So real quick, because I don't do this a lot either. Can everyone see Yada's handle? Like, because I want you to all go follow her on Instagram.
Yay!
And what is it?
The art of story selling.
The art, and if it's not showing, if my team would please type it in. The art of story selling. Yeah. Everyone go follow Yada on Instagram. Her Instagram is really cool. You're gonna like get to know her and her family and the whole thing. But I want to make sure that you all have that access there.
You know, I wanted to comment really quick on what you were saying about polarity, because it's so true. I used to have a really difficult time being polarizing. Like everyone was like, you've got to say things that are polarizing. And I was like, but what is that? Like, I'm really okay with everyone. Like, I feel like I live in this gray area because I don't believe that there's right or wrong or good or bad in the world. I think that there are things that are useful and that are not useful, right? And so when I would see other people doing things that I didn't necessarily agree with, I'm able to kind of create space for that by saying, you know, I don't know what their goals are. Like, I don't know if that's useful for them or not useful. And so being polarizing was difficult for me until I realized that you automatically attract and repel with the same amount of force, right? You don't even have to try really to be polarizing. If you just show up and be yourself, you're going to be polarizing because there are things that you believe, there are values that you hold that are different from other people, and that is going to come out in your stories. And so it becomes a very natural process of kind of sifting through your followers and the people that are coming into your space and saying, oh yeah, like those are mine and those aren't, and that's okay. Just like bless and release them, you know?
It's very much the mentality of a queen, because you're a queen. But I think that people that are stuck in the Little Miss Perfect archetype, they actually have a delusion or a fantasy that they can get everyone to like and approve and accept of them, that they're not polarizing. And so we want to lovingly wake up the queen in you to really get that you don't need to be afraid of confrontation, that you can create safety in who you are and your tribe and your mission, and really learn to stand by that. Yeah. So I got a question for you. Yeah. One of the elements that frustrates me the most with my own clients, so yes, I'm talking about many of you right now, is the lack of, their copy doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about NLP. I'm not talking about like super advanced techniques and strategies. Like the copy is so bland, so generic, that it wouldn't possibly attract their ideal client. And yet they come to me and they're like, why isn't it working? And help me, help them, or just help them. Like, what do you have to say to a person that's just like writing such, and they don't see it? Like, how can we help the audience become more specific to attract their ideal clients?
Okay, no pressure. So a couple things. I think first and foremost, when people are writing, I'm assuming you're talking about like a sales page situation. Sales
page, social media, newsletters, like really it runs across the board. Yeah, it's not even like a hardcore selling. It could even be like a not selling, just trying to get engagement in an Instagram post. And it's just like snore fest for me.
Okay, so let's start with this. Most people, when they know that they're writing something that a lot of people are going to see, get this deer in headlights feeling about it, you know, and what we do when it's almost like being told that you're going to be on stage, right? And so immediately you kind of tense up and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to show up as the best version of myself. And I have to use all of my big words that I never use ever. And I have to be super formal and use proper grammar, and like, you know, 9th grade English comes rearing its ugly head, and we freeze. Right? And so what I'd invite all of them to do is just relax first and foremost. Just remember that regardless of the fact that you're writing something that's going to go one to many, your audience is still receiving it one to one. Right? And so
Great tip. Did everyone get that? Write that down.
Yeah. Yeah, you're writing one to many, but your audience is still receiving it one to one, whether it's in their newsfeed, whether it's on their phone, whether it's in their inbox, it doesn't matter. You're still having a one-to-one conversation with them. And so one of the ways to kind of lessen that deer in headlights and that formality that we tend to bring to those situations is to pretend like you're writing to your best friend. It just automatically drops that guard that we throw up, and it allows us to show up more as ourselves. If I was writing you an email, Gina, I wouldn't be like, you know, welcome to Thursday morning. It's so lovely to see you today. Like, I'd be like, girl, you are not going to believe what just happened. Right. And that's just how we talk. And maybe we don't talk like that. Right. But there's a formality that's been dropped. And that allows us to assume familiarity with the person that we're speaking to, and it allows our message to get in. Now, hold
up. You just taught me something though, because I actually do not use that tip. For me, what I've always done, watch my open rates increase after this nugget here. I get talked to one person, and I always talk to my favorite client.
Yeah.
But you have just taken it to another level. Talk to your best friend, because you're going to be so, like, I don't tell my clients everything that I tell my best friends or talk in the same way. I love that. Everyone get that, write that down. Do your copywriting like you're talking to your best friend, not even your favorite client. Yes.
Well, you have to think about it. If the way that I see my circle of influence is really that my email list is the closest to me, right? Because these are the people who have raised their hand and said, hey, I'm interested in that thing you were talking about. I liked your Facebook Live. I liked the lead magnet that you put out there. I saw your ad. You know, I'm interested, but I don't feel like I'm ready to buy yet. That know, like, and trust factor isn't quite there for me, but I want to get to know you. Like, they gave you their email address. They're there. They're here for it, right?
Wow, wait, I'm taking all of this. I've been in business 20 years, and Yana's saying things that in a way that I have never heard it before. And I teach this stuff too. So it's like your email, you consider your email list the closest to you. Tell me, like, say that again and tell me more about that.
Yeah, I do. I think that, you know, our Facebook followers and our Instagram followers and the people that watch our videos and all of those things, they're amazing. Like, I'm all about them. But the people who've actually taken that step and said, here's my email address, I want you in my inbox, are special to me, right? And those are the people that I almost considered as like, they get the behind the scenes, because there I'm talking about, hey, I'm developing this new course. Like, what do you guys want in it? Like, that's where I'm having this back and forth conversation with people. And that's the other thing, right? I don't like talking at people. I like having a conversation with people. And so I'm always asking questions. I'm always encouraging them to reach back out, to reply to the emails, so that I can open that line of communication with them and actually have a feedback loop where I can say, hey, today I feel like talking about XYZ, and nobody opens the email or nobody replies. I'm like, well, hey, they're not really interested in that. And that's okay. Let me try something else, right? And so you can test out different topics. You can test out different ideas that you have. And you can really, this is where it gets really fun for me, is like, you can test out your marketing with your ideal audience and then take it to Facebook and then take it to Instagram. Because if it hits with your list, you know that that's a very specific type of person. And if you put that same, let's use a fishing analogy, right? If you use that same bait in the big ocean that you used in your stock pond and it worked, then you're going to catch the same kind of fish. And so it just becomes this like awesome little ecosystem that's giving you all of the feedback that you need to go find more of them.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm going to keep asking Yara some questions so you can be just collecting these jewels, but we are also open to you asking questions as well. So if you've got questions, and again, for those of you on Facebook, hello, come over and join us on Instagram so you can get in on this goodness and ask Yara your own questions. So what copywriting questions or engagement questions or deepening your relationship with your audience questions do you have for this copywriting genius that is before you?
I love the ponytail.
Oh yeah, well, you get this or a top knot these days, because you know, blow drying my hair has that is as far as I'm going. I like the beach wave is 2021 goals for me. I'm not getting the curling iron out yet. That's for damn sure. So the fact that I washed my hair this week this was the first time in over 5 years that I've washed my own hair and blow dried it. Like,
first world problems for sure.
It's I mean, yeah, it's a thing, but I'm glad.
I'll tell you the other day, I was walking around the house. We have 2 kids, 10 and 12, and we were walking around the house on the floor. We have wood floor, and it just felt sticky. And I was like, that's it. I've had it. And so I grabbed the broom. I like swept the whole floor. Then I took out the mop and I was mopping. And James, my partner, saw me and he's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Why? And he's just like, I just feel like now I know things have really gone sideways because I've never seen you mop. I was like, listen, this queen needs a clean queendom, so yeah. Someone has to do it.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Fabio writes in, what are the steps for story selling?
I can actually walk you guys through it if you want. They'll give me a second.
Sure,
here.
They do. And again, if you are not already following Yara on Instagram, go to The Art of Story Selling and follow her. And I'm guessing you have some sort of reason for them to give you their email address also?
I do. And actually, if I actually don't have access to it right now because we're updating my website, but I will figure out a way to get it to you guys, even if I send it over to you or however we want that.
Sure. And, you know, I'm sure you'll be announcing it then on your own. All the more reason to go follow Yara on Instagram, and she will announce it on her.
Yeah, because it's actually up on my website, but the opt-in isn't working, so they won't get it, even if they opt in, which is awful. Okay, I will walk you guys through it. It's actually a 6-step framework.
Cool.
And so the very first step, we already talked about it. It's assuming familiarity. And I'll just read you guys what it says here. I want you guys to approach the conversation assuming familiarity, and remember like that you're writing to your best friend. This means that we're going to drop the salutation. We're going to use contractions whenever possible, which means saying can't instead of cannot, don't instead of do not, because that's how we talk in a regular conversation, you know? And the only time that I really separate words out is for effect. And, you know, if you get more into copywriting, you'll learn that there's a certain cadence to the way that we write, kind of like music. There's a musicality to it. And so one of the other tips and tricks that I give people is that once you've written something, read it out loud. You will be surprised how much you change when you read something out loud.
Wait, hold up. But again, true. Like these are like major. Drop the salutation.
Yeah.
So in your emails, you don't write dear so-and-so.
No, I don't. You know why? Because first of all, I've gotten one too many emails that says, hey, first name. And it drives me absolutely crazy. Second, I really believe that we should respect our readers. And at this point in the game, everybody knows that Gina DeVee is not sitting down to write an email to Yara Golden every single morning. Like, it's not happening, right? But and instead of pretending like we are, I'm like, just be freaking real. Like, hey, what's going on? You know, just get to it. So I dropped the salutation. That's one of the things I get the most pushback from. But it increases open rates, like, and it increases the connection that you have with the audience.
Well, right, because if I was writing to you, there's no way I would write Dear Yara.
No.
It would totally be something like, what's up, gorgeous?
Yeah, exactly. And so for people who actually do have a tribe and have named them, or have a salutation that they use for them on their lives and on their trainings and things like that, you can 100% put like, hey, gorgeous, and it'll land for everybody. But other than that, I just drop it. It's like, let's just be real here.
Keep going.
Step number 2 is that we want to create a curiosity-based pattern interrupt. And so that's going to be your headline. That's going to be your subject line, because you could have written the best email in the entire world, but if your subject line sucks, nobody's going to read it ever. True. Right? And so we want to make this enough based in curiosity. It's kind of like when you're at the supermarket and you see the National Enquirer magazines at the check stand, and it's like, Angelina grew a 3rd head, and you're like, what? Right? It interrupts you. It interrupts your pattern enough that you're like, wait, what did that say? And you do a double take. And if there's enough curiosity in the headline, you'll actually reach out and grab the magazine and open it up. Right? And so that's what you want your subject line to do. A lot of people try to write their subject line before they actually write the email. I do it the other way around. I write the email and then I pull the subject line out of the email, or something that you say or something that you reference will usually suffice. But I find it much easier to do that backwards.
What are some of your top performing subject lines?
I just sent out one the other day that said, this can't wait till morning.
Like it.
Right? So this,
that.
yeah, so it's like, this can't wait till morning. And I sent it out at night and I got close to 60 replies from that email.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And that email actually had like a 54% open rate. So
I see why. Give us a couple others.
What's another good one that we've sent out? Oh man, you're like putting me on the spot. I don't know. I write so many emails. I don't know. But let's go to step number 3.
Cool.
So we want to hook our reader immediately, and that means that you want to open with high drama, right? Your first, second, and third lines are pretty much all you have to get somebody's attention. And your first line should be written so that someone reads the second line, which should be written so that somebody reads the third line.
Okay.
And so here, I would like you to think of like a Hollywood blockbuster movie, like a heist movie, right? What happens? Opening scene, they're in the middle of the heist. Like there's sirens, there's masks. You don't know who's who, what's going on, where they are, what this is about, but you're in, right? You're like, okay, what happened? I have to find out what's happening here. And that will take us to step number 4, which is to fill them in and give them some context about what's happening. If we go back to the movie, what happens after that opening scene is that they're just like, all right, let us give you the backstory about how we got there, who these characters are, why they're doing this, right? And this is really where you're going to guide their epiphany. An epiphany is when, at least in the terms that I see it, is that it's like a bridge, right? You're on one side of the bridge and you don't have the skill, you don't have the knowledge, you're confused, you're just trying to figure things out. And as you go across the bridge, you have an experience, you meet someone, you read a book, you go to a conference, you have a conversation, and you have this aha moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I totally get it now, I understand. And now you're on the other side of that bridge, right? So we want to guide our readers' epiphany and help them understand why we're telling them this story. What did we learn as we were going through this experience that we're sharing with them? And get them to the other side where they're now standing with us going like, hey, I didn't actually go through that experience, but I've gained the knowledge because you shared it with me, right? Number 5 is, I think, the most important part, is that you want to give your reader the win. You don't want to be the talking head. You don't want to be the person that's like, well, now because I shared this information with you, I'm so brilliant. No, you want to be like, we've always known this, right? Like, we understand, we've learned, and it becomes a very inclusive situation so that your reader always feels good when they read your emails.
I love that.
Right? They're like, I learned something. I feel good about myself. I understand things a little bit better. I remember things that I'd learned that I'd forgotten that I may just not be implementing in my life. And so you give them the win. And then number 6 is that you ask them to tell you about it. So you open the feedback loop and you're just like, hey, have you ever been in a situation like that? Are you in a situation like that? Tell me about it. I want to hear more. And so with that call to action, which is really a reply and it's a call for engagement, you are creating the space for them to step into it. You're creating the space for them to actually have a real connection with you. But you're also creating the space for them to be like, hey, I'm actually stuck in that spot. And now I see that you've actually gone through something similar and you're on the other side of it. Can you help me? And that now becomes a sales conversation.
It's so simple. It's so profound, yet clearly so powerful. I love this. I love this. I love this. Thank you so much for that juicy content. We didn't even have that planned, people, so you're welcome. And what questions? First of all, go follow Yara at it's the with the in front, right? The Art of Story Selling. Go follow her on Instagram, The Art of Story Selling. Where you can keep getting all these fabulous tips and wonderful things. I want to hear your questions. Someone asked earlier, is it longer or shorter sales pages that work or increase the trust, like and know factor? Let's see. Sales pages, shorter bio or longer? Hold on. Shorter bio or longer and more detailed if you're trying to get people to know and trust you.
I mean, I think bios, I think there's a couple questions in there, shorter bios or longer bios. I think a story takes as long to tell as it takes. You know, people ask me all the time, well, how many words should my sales page have? Or how many words should an email be? And I think it really depends on how long it takes you to tell the story. I have come across people who are very long-winded. I've come across people who just love to give all of the details, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. The problem is that unfortunately, as people, we are always looking for disqualifiers, right? And so
explain that.
Well, we're looking for, even though we crave more than anything connection and acceptance, we are always looking for the ways that we're different. So we're disqualifying ourselves, right? Like I could be like, oh, you know, Gina's so amazing, but she's wearing a ponytail. Like, oh, I should have put my hair in a ponytail. Or she's wearing a really nice fancy dress and I'm wearing a Lululemon long sleeve, right? Like I'm looking for ways to disqualify myself. And that doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything wrong with it. It's just the human nature. And so when we share a story and we give too much detail, we give the reader too many opportunities to disqualify themselves and be like, well, that's
brilliant.
not,
okay.
right? It's like, that's not exactly the situation that I'm in. So maybe it won't work. It's kind of like if I tell you that I went on a cruise to the Bahamas and you're like, oh, I went on a cruise to the Bahamas too. Like they're super fun. But if I say, oh, my cruise went to St. Martin and it went to Puerto Rico and it went to Nassau, then you're like, oh, well, we were on different cruises. We can't really share that experience. Makes
Interesting.
sense?
Okay. Okay.
So we want to paint in really broad strokes rather than get too into the weeds, into the details. And and that usually helps people cut their stories down, especially if you find yourself being too over embellishing, let's say. And on top of it, the other thing is that we always tell our story not for our own benefit, because a lot of the stories that I ask people to share are kind of vulnerable, right? There are times when we've fallen, when we've scraped our knees, when we've really learned something, and it's not always super fun to share those. But we don't tell our stories for our own benefit. Like I don't like telling my stories. I think it feels me centric, right? But I tell my stories for the benefit of my readers. And so in order to do that, my story has to be positioned in a way that's actually going to serve my readers, not about the person I was talking to or what I was wearing or what we were eating. No one cares. They care about the lesson. Like, so serve the reader with the story.
Yes.
That's what I got to say about length.
Yes. And do you follow I've always heard copy can never be too long, only too boring.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, you know, and I think especially more than ever in this day and age, ladies, I would say that there's not this right way to do business anymore. You know, for those of us that were around in like 2004, 5, and was like, there was like a way to do things and a thing to do, and that's just been blown open. So really give yourself permission to do what excites you. I find, like when I've really nailed something, because if I've either written a newsletter or an email, like, and then when it actually shows up in the inbox, it's like, I'm like actually excited to read it. Yeah. Or same with an Instagram post or a Facebook post. It's like, you know that like you're engaged, and then there's other stuff where it's just like, whatever, like even I'm deleting my own stuff. And you're like, that's not a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it truly is.
So I think it's really about like making sure that you are so connected to it and passionate about it, that you're not just in your head about like, what is someone else going to want or what's going to get someone else's attention. Like really be connected to it. And if the length works for you, if it's enough, then it's enough.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people, I'm on the longer side. So even my Facebook posts, like I am known for like the new window, right? You click on it and it's like a whole new window because it's so long. And I tell people, I'm like, you know, people are like, well, my readers would never sit and read that. And I'm like, but mine do, right? Like I'm a writer. And so the people that I communicate with like to read, they like writing. And so they'll sit with me through it. I find, just like you said, if I write something and I'm excited to put it out, I'm excited to share it with people. Like I read it over and over and over again. I'm like, oh, this is good. Like I have to put it out there. And there's been other times where, you know, I have an agency, so I have other people who write on my team for my clients and things like that. And I'll get things to edit them and I'll start reading them and I'll get halfway and not even finish because I'm just like, you have to redo this. Like I am not interested in what this has to say at all. And that's a problem because if I'm not interested, nobody else is going to be. Mm-hmm. And I shouldn't say nobody, but the majority of people probably wouldn't be.
Yep. And then the other thing that I also really look for is like the skim test or like the skim factor. It's like, you know, because people skim on the internet. So whether it's a post or some longer form, you know, after you've read it, like I look at it as if it wasn't mine and if it was someone I didn't even know, and just kind of skim it and see what words or headlines or bolding kind of pops out.
Yeah.
And, you know, and sometimes I'll even skim my own stuff when it's sent to me for approval, and I'll be like, where's the call to action button? Or, you know, so you want to, and sometimes, you know, you're so in it that you think it's so obvious because you're reading every word because you wrote it, but a lot of people are skimming. So
yeah, and I think you just mentioned a call to action. I think another thing that's super important to mention is that especially if you're talking about an email, your email should really only have one call to action, right? You're either asking them to go to a website, you're asking them to download something, you're asking them to reply, you're asking them to purchase, like whatever it happens to be, just have it be one thing, because it can be really sneaky sometimes. You're just like, oh, we just had this awesome live in our Facebook group, click here. And then blah, 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 blah. If you want to find out more about that, click here. And you're just like, wait, you're going to lose them at one point in the email. Like, you have to remember, the second that you put a call to action, especially if it has a link, you're taking them away from the email. And the chance that they're going to come back and finish it are like 0 to none, you know? So make sure that you only have one call to action and you don't confuse your reader. You can never underestimate your ability to confuse your reader or for them to misinterpret what you've said.
But that wouldn't apply to like a newsletter where there are multiple links and that kind of thing. Yep.
Yeah, no, because that's the purpose of that, is to put that in front of them. That's why I was like, with emails at least.
Yes. Cool. Any other questions before we wrap today, ladies? What juiciness? Give Yara some love. We'll take any last questions. Make sure you go follow her on Instagram at The Art of Story Selling. Yes. The Art of Story Selling. Carol Salve. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you here. Who else has, look at all the hearts coming in. Thank you.
I know, I love seeing all the hearts light up. They're so cute.
Hearts, any last comments or questions? And who went and followed Yara? I want to see. Oh, were we going to do something? Did you?
Oh, so I was thinking that we could, I want to see how you got your little bubbles, because those are super cute. What is happening right now? I'm shiny now.
There you go. Oh, the filters. Oh, yes, this is the makeup filter. So
you're doing the Kylie one?
It has a paintbrush.
I'll just stay normal. How about that? I had thought that I'm actually running my subscriber reviver challenge live right now. So today is day 2 of 15.
Oh!
And yeah, and if you wanted, I thought that we could do a giveaway for somebody to join us.
Yes. First of all, I want to get in on it. Where do people go? Where do we go to get into Subscriber Reviver?
Yeah, for sure. You can go to subscriberreviver.com. It's a 15-day challenge. We're literally on day 2. I'm going to go live here in an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm teaching all about the story selling framework. I'm teaching people how to re-engage a list that's gone cold or that's like dead. Cool. But all of the principles work for Facebook groups, Facebook posts, like anything really story selling. So, but that's just a really good wrapper to put around the whole thing.
Excellent. So subscriberreviver.com. We'll throw the link in the comments here, both on Instagram and Facebook, to get in on this totally free challenge. And then what are we doing for my people?
Yeah, we'll just do I don't know how we can pick somebody. Do you want to pick somebody at random?
And what are they going to get?
They're going to get access to the course.
Oh, wow. That's kind of mega. You go to subscriberreviver.com and we'll toss, my team has just tossed the link in the chat here, Jessica. Ooh, so if someone's going to actually get a free course, you got to work for that. I think that what you need to do is you need to go follow Yara. And you need to get 5 of your friends to follow her as well. So go to her page, tag them in some comments or something, and then it'll be like raffle style. How about that?
Okay. And when will we announce it?
When will we announce it? Let's.
Do you want to give it like 24 hours?
Yeah. That sounds great.
Okay.
We will have. Why don't we just have you come back tomorrow? And we'll do like a little part 2, and we'll do the giveaway, And so everyone go to the Art of Story Selling, or follow Yara, the Art of Story Selling. This is obviously a spontaneous giveaway, folks. Whatever her most recent post is, go tag 5 of your friends and follow her and get them to follow her as well. And whoever's done the most is going to win the Subscriber Reviver course. Super sexy.
Yep. That's it.
All right, there we go.
All right, so I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow.
We will see. I don't even, does it work for your schedule?
I think so.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here, ladies. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for continuing to choose love over fear right now. Use these tips, especially if you just joined us. Go back and watch this replay. She gave her 6-step process on what needs to be in your email communication so that you can rock it out and attract your most ideal clients in a non-boring way, in a super fun way. And we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place, 10 a.m. Pacific. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Yara.
Bye. Yeah, no problem. 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 Yeah, no